hopefully what he's learned from his boss.
Okay. Jackie, if you guys can stay with me for 1 second, I want to bring in Chief White House correspondent Major Garrett, who joins us from the White House North Lawn. Major, more than a dozen investigations against him. The president stood by him, so why now?
Well, a couple of things. One, Andrew Wheeler was confirmed by the Senate. That gives them, meaning the White House, a backup plan. And now that backup plan has been set in motion. The other thing I think is worth keeping track of is Trey Gowdy, Republican from South Carolina, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, and his investigators have spent a good deal of time the last month or so paying a good deal of attention to Scott Pruitt's leadership of the Environmental Protection Agency. And recently, according to reports published in the Washington Post, got some more details about the way in which people who worked closely with Scott Pruitt said he treated the office as if it were his own personal sandbox and had people doing things for him, looking into a potential lucrative job for his wife, taking care of other personal tasks, asking things that be done for him of a non-work related nature, just small things, but nevertheless looked as if he was taking on or looking at his own job as EPA administrator as something beyond government, like you need to serve me in all the various capacities that I need served. And that contributed to a long-standing reputation that Pruitt treated that EPA administrator position as a bit of a kingly post in the Trump government. He would use his security detail in ways to protect him, fly first class, use the security detail to drive through Washington traffic, ignoring red lights to get to places more rapidly, sometimes a restaurant. And these, in addition to other questions raised about his overall approach to running the agency, giving people who were close to him in his previous political life, or at least seeking to give them higher raises, or raises rather, above their original salary, all suggested that he was operating outside of the normal boundaries of an EPA administrator. And for a long time, that was not only accepted, it was more or less embraced by President Trump and those around him. But I think the information recently conveyed to Trey Gowdy and the Republicans at the House Oversight Committee may have been the final straw, may have been that thing that suggested to the president this was not going to be a revelation you were going to be comfortable with, or that Scott Pruitt, in addition to all the other accusations, revelations, investigations, which, let us point out, under any other administration, would have long since toppled any member of the cabinet.
We were just...
Scott Pruitt hung on tenaciously because he was an ideological warrior on behalf of what President Trump told him to do, which was use the Environmental Protection Agency to deregulate, to push back against Obama-era regulations dealing with business, make life in America more friendly from a regulatory point of view for fossil fuels, coal, and the like. And Scott Pruitt did that. Scott Pruitt carried out that mission aggressively and won high marks from the president. And the first indication we received was right before 4th of July, when a White House official said, the newest revelations are troubling. We're going to take a long look at them and we'll get back to you. That was similar to what the White House had said before, but there was much more emphasis on the troubling aspect than any other in the past. Usually when the White House had said things charges that had been leveled against Pruitt were troubling, they would often come right after that and say, yes, but he's done such a great job, has the president's full confidence. That evaporated away earlier this week, which was a signal things were getting dicey for Scott Pruitt.
Major, when you talk about a man like Pruitt, who was a former Oklahoma attorney general, I mean, he really built a career with lawsuits pushing back against the agency he now leads. For people who are concerned about the environment, about the rolling back of these laws at EPA, should you expect anything different from the man who will be taking over, Andrew Wheeler?
No, he supports everything from a policy perspective Scott Pruitt sought to achieve and did achieve. He wanted the United States to get out of the Paris Agreement. He wanted the United States to get rid of the Obama-era Clean Power Plan. He is as sympathetic to fossil fuel industries and as skeptical of either climate change or global warming or the federal government's role in regulating greenhouse gas emissions. And like Scott Pruitt will, I'm sure, say on behalf of this administration, EPA is only going to do that which Congress has outlined under law and not push the envelope on regulation. Now, it's worth pointing out that the Obama administration pushed the envelope on what law allowed, and sometimes were snapped back by the courts, who said you are exceeding your regulatory authority. Congress hasn't given you that power. You believe you should exercise that. You've gone beyond what Congress has allowed, and you need to stop. So it's not as if the Obama administration was in every way consistent with the law as written. They were pushing the envelope on the side of environmental regulation. They argued to benefit consumers, the health, and the environmental strength of the country. That was their argument. But they lost some court cases, conspicuous court cases, because they went too far. The EPA approach under Scott Pruitt, and I suspect under Mr. Wheeler, will be, we're not only not going to go outside of what Congress has said we as an agency can do, we're probably going to take the most narrow interpretation and regulation about what we can do, bringing things way, way back, swinging that pendulum much more in the direction favorably of industry, particularly fossil fuels.